Hello and welcome to the first ever weekly Sports Beacon podcast. My name is Rob Harvey and I'm the assistant sports editor.
I'm Trenton Duffer. I'm the sports editor.
And so basically what we're going to do, this will come out sometime every week and we'll just talk about Tennessee sports for about 30 minutes or so and keep y'all entertained, hopefully. So we got a big game coming up Thursday against Appalachian State, first football game, Thursday. What do you feel about having it on a Thursday? Kind of weird.
Well, it's nice because we get out of class, so that's a gift in itself. I find it funny that they're having it on Thursday, just because it's going to be Labor Day weekend and classes are going to be empty on Friday. If you have a class on Friday, I feel sorry for you because you're going to have to go to that after the adventures that we have on Thursday. So I'd say there's going to be a lot of class skipping on on Friday. So it's definitely interesting, and I think it'll play out to be pretty cool.
I don't see the real. I get why they cancel classes on Thursday because of the whole parking situation with season ticket holders who have parking passes. But at the same time, I feel like people were more likely to come to classes on Thursday than they were Friday, so they could be on campus, so they wouldn't have to leave. But that's just my thought. I don't know. I think it'll be pretty cool. They kind of talked about how it's going to be the first football game, but you had California and Hawaii on Thursday. So technically, it's not the first game, but it's one of the first ones. So it'll be a pretty cool thing. Students, I hear, bought out all the tickets. A lot of people couldn't even get tickets. So
yeah, there was a lot of uproar about that on Twitter.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get a ticket, feel sorry for you because it's the first game of the season. Everybody wants to go to the first game. I'm sure that the freshmen were sitting by their computer, and some of the upperclassmen were just like, "Yeah, I'll get it whenever," and then they missed the chance. So.
I'm wondering what the turnout will be, just because season ticket holders like my family from Chattanooga. That's an hour and a half away, but my dad still is not going to want to make the trip an hour and a half and get back home at 1:00 in the morning, have to go to work the next day. So I wonder how the crowd will be. I'm sure it'll be a good crowd because people want to be there, but at the same time, I don't think it'll be a sellout.
Yeah, and a lot of people from my hometown. I'm in a small town, northeast of Nashville, about an hour northeast of Nashville, and that's a 3-hour drive. Yeah. So you're looking at 3 hours, leaving at 2:00 to get there at 5, and then so you could find a parking spot, and then the game will be over probably at 11 or so. So you're looking at getting back into town at 2:00. So.
Yeah, and season ticket holders aren't just in Tennessee; they're in Georgia, they're in Alabama, they're everywhere, and so this kind of and it was so they didn't have time to prepare, because it was Saturday for about 2 years since the game's been set up, and then a couple months before the game they said, "Oh wait, it's going to be on Thursday." Sorry, so it'll be pretty cool, but I think the crowd will be not a sellout. I think it'll be less than what they're kind of expecting.
Yeah, it won't be the full capacity. I do think there'll be, 85, 90 there. Not 85, 90,000, There'll be a good crowd for sure because
it will be.
It's UT football, and with all the expectations surrounding this season, people are going to want to see, if the Vols are going to be as good as they are projected to be. And Appalachian State beat Michigan, 9 years ago in 2007? Yeah, so.
And a couple of the UT coaches were on that Michigan staff too, so I know they've been talking all week about how they haven't said anything. I know they asked Corey Vereen yesterday, and he was like, "No, the coaches have not said anything about it." He was very direct, so it'll be interesting. And this is a very good Appalachian State team too. They're 17-2 in their last 19 games, and they have a career 4,000-yard rusher in their halfback. So it'll be. I have a feeling it'll be a lot like last year's Bowling Green game.
Yeah.
So and which is good for the Vols because it gives them a good competition first game, and so they can get a good preparation for Virginia Tech the next week. So I think it'll be I think it'll be a good test for them.
Yeah, it will be for sure. Interestingly enough, yesterday there was a conference call with Appalachian State's coach, and he said Appalachian State played Clemson last year, and he said just from what he's seen so far that this year's Vols team looks, more prepared, I guess you could say, than last year's Clemson team. And if you don't remember, Clemson went to the national title and lost by a touchdown to Alabama. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like people are going to read too much into that.
Yeah, I don't think Butch was too happy with that comment because all the fans are going to explode now about we're going to make it to the national championship because Appalachian State's coach said we're better than Clemson was last year.
Yeah, and speaking of Butch, he released his depth chart yesterday. There weren't really any surprises on it, in my opinion. I know Josh Smith and Josh Malone are two starting receivers that we saw. Who was the other two? It was Preston Williams or Jawan Jennings.
Yeah. Jennings is coming back from knee surgery, so I don't know how much he'll play in that first game, but it'll be good to have him back and get him some time.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of, I don't know, I've never seen a depth chart say this guy or this guy.
Yeah, that happened a couple times. I know with backup middle linebacker to Reeves Maben, it was Cortez McDowell or Cortez Sapp. So it'll be interesting to see if they get the same amount of play time or one of them. I know the coaches are really high on Cortez Sapp. He's had a great spring and fall, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how Brett Kendrick does filling in for Chance Hall. Chance Hall, of course, is out probably 4 to 6 weeks. He had knee surgery the other day. It was last week he had knee surgery. So it'll be interesting to see how Brett Kendrick fills in. And I know yesterday I was looking at the depth chart, and there's only one senior on the list, and I can't think of who it was right off the top of my head.
On the offensive line?
On the offensive line, yeah. I can't think of who it was. I'd have to look at the depth chart again.
But they're experienced still.
Yeah.
I mean, all those guys, Coleman Thomas, Dylan Wiseman, Brett Kendrick. I mean,
Richmond.
Richmond, it'll be his first game.
Yeah.
But those guys are more experienced. And, Richmond, that was he kind of has to step up now that Chance is hurt.
Yeah.
They were kind of going to ease him in because, I mean, he redshirted last year. He hadn't played a game. I know the hype is all, he was such a big-time recruit coming out of high school. But, it is his first college game ever, so it'll be interesting to see. And later on in the season, it'll be really interesting when he has to go up against Myles Garrett at Texas A&M. I mean, he's ranked higher than Barnett, and Barnett, he's
Barnett's
so it'll be really interesting to see if he can keep up and not shut him down, but be able to kind of maintain something on him.
Yeah, Myles Garrett he's projected to be like a top 5 pick in next year's draft. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how Drew can deal with him because Drew, like you said, was so highly recruited. Is it Wiseman that's the senior?
I think it is. Yeah,
I think it is.
Now that it was Wiseman.
Yeah, I think Wiseman is a senior. Kendrick is a redshirt sophomore.
Coleman Thomas is a junior.
Yeah, no, he's redshirt. He's either a sophomore or a redshirt sophomore.
Okay.
But yeah, and then of course Richmond is the redshirt freshman. Not really any other surprises.
No, I mean, I'm a little surprised, but not really. Micah Abernathy, he didn't really play much last year, but that was because McNeil and Randolph were back there. So, I mean, and the coaches have talked about how he's been really good. So, I guess him and Kelly back there together will be
that'll be interesting to see.
A quick combination.
And didn't they have Evan Berry?
Evan Berry's back there, but I don't know how much Evan Berry will play, but just because, he had to play. Kelly was sick last year for the Bowling Green game, and he had to play. And that was the first game of the season, but he really struggled. Bowling Green had a wide receiver, Dieter, who now is a graduate transfer, and now is playing for Alabama.
Oh, wow.
And he roasted Berry a couple times.
Did he?
Berry and Mosley. So it'll be interesting to see if he's out there and if Mosley's on him again or if Berry comes in and has to cover him. It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, I know the backup quarterback is going to be Quentin Dormady. I think the Beacon here, we announced that on, what was it, Thursday?
Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. We announced that Dormady will be the backup quarterback to, of course, Dobbs. Third string quarterback, who do you think it'll be?
I imagine it'll be Sharon Jones, just because I imagine they'll probably redshirt Guarantano. But, honestly, there's so much hype around Guarantano that for next year, and I know I'm getting way ahead, but next year, I feel like he might have a chance to honestly beat out Dormady for the starting spot, just because they have really – he's really shined in practice. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say he's a better version of Dobbs. Like, he can run. Wow. He's got a lot more accuracy than Dobbs does, and I feel like he's going to compete. I don't know Sharon Jones. I don't know how much he'll compete. I mean, he's a good person to have back there, but I don't know how much he'll compete with Dormady and Guarantano. And another thing about Guarantano is he can run, and Dormady's more, and we saw this last year, Dormady's more flat-footed. And
he'll stay in the pocket and make the pass, and Dobbs and Guarantano are more of a, escape to the outside.
Wait for something to happen or take off. And, Dormady I saw a lot last year. He played a lot against Northwestern there at the end. He played some against Western Carolina. And he bailed out of the pocket a lot, really early. Like, he'd sent something. Instead of, Dobbs kind of staying in there, kind of stepping up, Dormady would bail out and get sacked or throw the ball away really early. And, he's going to have to work on that if he wants to improve.
Yeah, I'd love to see Dobbs or Guarantano, either one, pull a Marcus Mariota fake. Did you see that last night?
No, I didn't.
So Mariota was running to the right side, and he had the ball, and there was it was a running back beside him. I think it might have been no, it wasn't Derrick Henry. I don't know. Yeah, it was one of the Titans running backs, but he was running, and he had the running back to the right of him, and he went to he faked a lateral and faked a defender, just completely just faked him out, and then ran up the field a few more yards and then tossed the lateral back and picked up 30 yards. So it'd be nice to see the Vols run plays like that, because the option can only get you so far.
Right.
Hand off to Hurd, hand off to Kamara, or run up the middle with Dobbs. That can only get you so far, I feel like, especially in the SEC, where this is really kind of I won't say a down year, but it's a bit of a mediocre year for defensive backs in the in the SEC.
Yeah.
And this year it's more defensive line and linebacker depth and strength than it is defensive backs and stuff. So it would be interesting to see Dobbs test out the long ball a little bit more this year.
And, I'm interested to see if – I know a lot during Northwestern a couple times, and it worked a bunch. They lined up under center and put Alex Ellis. He's gone now, so it'll be Ethan Wolf, Jason Kroom at fullback.
Yeah.
And they either play action or they gave the ball to Hurd, and it worked like that. I feel like that's where Hurd will succeed. Lined up under center, Dobbs lined up and hand the ball off to him where they're more kind of get to the outside, because he's more of a power back instead of Kamara, who's a speed back and gets outside and take off. So I'll be interested to see if they use that. And I know when they did play actions, they had the fullback wide open down the middle of the field because nobody expected it. So, I think they will pull that out a few times, and I think, that'll make all the old fans happy lining up under center, And so, but I think they'll probably pull that out, and I think it'll just kind of add some trickery sort of to that.
Yeah, because, with this offense, you've got so many options. So many options. Malone and Josh Smith and, either Preston Williams or Jawan Jennings, they're all great receivers. And, to have and even the backups, Jeff George,
Tyler
Bird, they're all, fantastic players. So you really have, I won't say, you don't have a standout receiver. There's not any of these guys who are, going to go out and just shatter UT receiving records. But it's depth, and that's what you look for at receiver. I know Butch talked about it yesterday. Said you want 9 or 10 guys or 8 or 10 guys at receiver, and I feel like the Vols really have that this year. So their offense is just, they could pull out any trick they wanted. Hurd's going to run over people. Kamara's going to run under people because he's, I think 5'10".
He broke so many tackles last year to the outside too, and so
Dobbs
is obviously
Dobbs
breaks tackles like crazy.
Yeah, Dobbs breaks a lot of tackles. Dobbs is a really strong quarterback. Who's the third string running back
John Kelly.
John Kelly.
They've been talking a lot about him this year, and I think because he didn't really get into the game unless it was a blowout or something. I think he'll get a lot more playing time, which is huge for them because Hurd and Kamara they will get tired.
Yeah.
And so having him and I think they've compared him to Kamara a little bit just because his size and his speed, and having him back there will just make it it'll be insane just how much talent they have back in the backfield and that receiver, and offensive line has so much experience. The offense ought to be it'll be. I think the only way they wouldn't succeed is if Dobbs' accuracy is just still because last year those long balls on I know 4th down against Arkansas, they threw it long and it was just wrong shoulder to Malone, and he is very, and I say this all the time, but he is very good at throwing the ball on a long ball 1 yard past his receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He is so close to being perfect, and I know he has been perfect. Like the Kentucky game, that ball to Josh Malone down the sideline was probably the best pass of his career.
Yeah.
But he just needs to get a little better accuracy-wise. And I know they have talked about that he is getting better.
Yeah.
And so, it'll be interesting to see on 3rd and 7s if they trust him to throw the ball down the field or not.
Yeah.
Because, they kind of were hesitant last year just a little because he was inaccurate.
Yeah. So you do think Vols win on Thursday?
Yeah, I think they do. I think that, I think it's kind of close for maybe first half. No, I mean... Close, close is a relative term, I think, but I think they pull away, I think they win pretty easily, but I think it'll be a good test for them just early on, and it's not like somebody real easy like a Chattanooga or
a Tennessee Tech,
Tennessee Tech,
no hate at all towards those schools. They're just
they're not up to the level of competition.
No, they're not. They're not. They just don't have the recruiting prowess, I guess you could say. I just don't see. I don't see any way that Appalachian State wins this game. I agree with you. They'll keep it somewhat close in the first half. Maybe 2 touchdowns. Like Vols may lead 28-14 at the end of the first half or something.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I do think the Vols will end up closing the door, winning by 30, 40 points. The rest of the SEC right now, I don't know. The East is.
The East is just you never. There's 3 teams.
It'll be one of the 3.
Yeah, you've got Tennessee, Florida, and Georgia, and one of those teams is going to win. I would even just narrow it down to Tennessee and Florida because, Georgia, they do have a new coach. They're young. I know everybody's so high on Jacob Eason, quarterback, but I don't think he'll start. I don't think Kirby Smart's going to start a freshman at first. I think Grayson Lambert will start. And I don't know. I feel like they're young and they don't have. I mean, Kirby Smart is a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah. And
he will have a good defense as a head coach, but I don't feel like he has the pieces yet. He doesn't have what he wants. And Georgia somehow I didn't even realize this until earlier this week. They were top 10 defense in yards last year, but Tennessee kind of tore them apart last year. And I know there's a lot of games where they just. I guess kind of, they played some easier teams in non-conference, so I guess that has to deal with it. But their secondary was real rough last year, so it'll be interesting to see. Yeah,
Georgia's just, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Georgia. I feel like they're either going to go 7-5, 8-4, something like that, or they're going to go, typical Georgia, or they're going to go 10-2 and just surprise everybody. Because, like you said, I don't know how Kirby Smart is as a head coach.
Right.
And he's got the quarterback. He's got the
running backs if they can stay healthy. Chubb and Michelle are both hurt right now, but if they can get healthy, then he's got them.
Yeah, and Chubb's getting healthier every day. Yeah. Of course, he, just destroyed his poor leg last year at Neyland, first run of the game. And then Sony Michel, broke his arm?
He broke his arm.
ATV accident?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Running back's going to be, I'd say as the season progresses, they'll get better there.
Be interesting to see if Reggie Davis drops another wide open pass again. I know he's still he probably still has nightmares about that.
Yeah,
I saw that the other day, and that Grayson Lambert could not have thrown that ball.
No, he couldn't.
It was absolutely gorgeous, and and it wasn't like the ball caught him on the the end of the ball caught him. It was the middle of the ball, right there.
Yeah.
He dropped it. So
Yeah, and it's tough this year because by the time the Vols play Georgia, I think it's week 5. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's right after the Florida game. Yeah. It's in Athens, and that's what kind of worries me about this game is because Georgia, they play better at home. Every I won't say every college team, but most college teams, 99% of college teams play better at home. It's just they're on their home turf. They know the ins and outs of the field better than the opponents, and so it'll definitely be a tough game.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That'll be a game that'll be fun to watch. And then the other team in the SEC East besides Tennessee is Florida.
It's Florida, of course.
And I know earlier you said it comes down to Florida and Tennessee, and I don't agree with you. I'm going to say it comes down to Tennessee and Georgia because Florida they're starting Luke Del Rio at quarterback. That's
That's always, starting a new quarterback.
It's interesting, and I don't think that Del Rio is going to be ready to come in, and he'll be good eventually, but not this year. They really don't have a running back.
No, I just think the way that they would compete is defensively. They are stacked defensively like they always are, and so I think that I know that'll only carry them so far, but I think that Georgia-Florida game will be really interesting because Florida always plays well against Georgia. They ran them off the field last year. That arguably got Mark Richt fired because with Treon Harris as the quarterback too. And Treon, he wasn't anything.
No, he's beat the Vols, so
he beat the Vols,
I can't
but,
we can't really talk much
not,
here in Knoxville about him, but it's Florida. Just I don't know. I have a feeling about Florida this year. Last year they surprised a lot of people and. They really didn't. They had this, that roster where everybody was just like, oh, they don't have the pieces. But then they went out and won the East last year. And, Tennessee would have won the East if, they would have beat Florida in the Swamp. It's just, Florida's just that team. They're that team for the Vols.
They just can't beat,
They play week 4. It'll be September 24th. Here in Neyland, I know a lot of fans have wanted that to be Checker Neyland.
I know a lot of fans have not wanted that. Because the past 2 times they've lost. They lost Florida 2 years ago in Oklahoma, and it's not like they lost bad.
Oh yeah, they were
It
heartbreakers.
was what 9-3 with 10 minutes left against Florida, and Treon Harris comes in.
That sideline run.
Yeah, it takes off, and then Oklahoma, we all know Oklahoma.
Yeah, you lose a 10-9 game when you have an offense that's capable of scoring and a defense that's capable of stopping them, and you only win or you lose 10-9. That hurts. And then of course last year with the medley kick where he lined up and hit it, and then they called a timeout and they moved him over a few inches to the right, and he missed it by that much to the right. So 30-28 was it 30-28?
It was something like that.
Yeah, it was. Sure I think it was.
I tend to block that game out.
Yeah, I think because it was 30-28 because I remember in 2004 when the last time the Vols beat Florida.
It was 28-27 because the extra.
That's
point.
what it was because if the Vols would have hit that,
if they would gone for 2 instead of kicking that extra point, and there's a camera on CBS and it shows Butch Jones and he's yelling into his headset, 1. Yes, I said we want 1, and it's like. Really, I know fans that kind of hate that.
Yeah, and if they would have made that kick, it would have been 2004 all over again. Because that's what they won by, back then, and it was. Okay, I'm done talking about that game. But Florida's, they have a good defense, but I just don't think that they're gonna run the Cards. Too much. What do you think about the SEC predictions this year?
I think it's kind of it's tough in the West because LSU is a good team, but I just don't think Brandon Harris, quarterback. I know Fournette, but Alabama last year he only had 13 rushing yards, and they got beat pretty handily by Alabama. And I know it's at LSU, but I just don't think Harris is a good enough quarterback to have them win the West. So I think Alabama wins the West, and I think Tennessee does win the East. I think they go 10-2 with losses to Alabama in the regular season, and I think they will lose to them in the SEC championship game as well. I think they lose twice to Alabama. I know Tennessee fans don't want to hear that, but I also think they lose to A&M. I think they lose back-to-back because I think they'll beat Florida and Georgia, but then those are 2 emotional games, very emotional games. And you have Alabama right after, no bye weeks. It's Florida at Georgia, at A&M, Alabama. And I think they'll kind of be looking ahead and they'll be emotionally drained. Yeah. And so, Texas A&M has Trevor Knight now. Trevor Knight has beaten Tennessee before when he was at Oklahoma.
And they got Christian Kirk.
They have Christian Kirk,
who's one of the best receivers
in football. Speedy Noyle as well. They're both very good receivers. They have Myles Garrett, who we talked about. And I think Tennessee loses on the road to Texas A&M. I think they lose the next week at Alabama, and then I think they run the table for the rest of the season, but then lose to Alabama in the SEC championship game and go to the Sugar Bowl. What do you think?
Well, I want to agree with you, but I'm gonna one of those losses you had. I'm gonna change that and say that the Vols beat Alabama in Knoxville. Just going 11-1, winning the SEC East, and meeting an undefeated LSU team
Wow.
in Atlanta. Now, when it comes to Atlanta, that's going to be a tough call.
Tennessee doesn't have a lot of good luck against LSU in
They
Atlanta.
don't. They do not. What was it? Like
2007 and
2004.
2001.
It was It's 2001. But yeah, I like 11-1. I do think they'll lose to A&M just because A&M will be one of those teams where it's always tough to play down there. And everything's bigger in Texas. It'll be tough to play down there. So I think the Vols will drop that one just because, like you said, they'll be emotionally drained. But then they'll bounce back and beat Alabama at home. And don't storm the field whenever they beat Florida and Alabama. Don't storm the field because UT will get fined and your bill will go up probably. So, but that's all we have today. Thank you guys so much for joining us here. We'll hopefully have another one ready for you next week.
We'll be discussing the Appy State game and looking forward to Battle of Bristol. So thank you very much. I'm Rob Harvey.
I'm Trenton Duffer.
And thanks for listening.